Hey everyone, so I am live again, and in this live stream what I would like to do is talk about the Nintendo Switch, but I'd like to focus on controllers. I'd like to talk about the Nintendo Switch controllers. There's a lot of them on the market, and the reason I want to talk about it is because this is something that I'm looking at myself. There's a lot to look at, and I think this is one of the discussion points that I think most people who buy the Switch will then turn their attention to buying a second controller. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. So it's a live video, it's a live recording. I am live. That means you guys can say what you want. I will respond to your comments. It'll be an interactive discussion rather than me just, talking. But live means things can go wrong, and they do wrong. See? That's a good example of it. Things can go wrong, things do go wrong. So yes, be prepared for things like that. In this video, I just want to talk about controllers. So I've been playing the Nintendo Switch a lot the last few days, and I'm really enjoying it. So what I would say first and foremost is that with the Nintendo Switch, right, the Joy-Con controllers, a lot of people are saying that one reason to buy the Lite is that the controls are a little bit better. It works better as a handheld, and the controls are a little bit better. A lot of people say that the weight distribution for the Switch, the default Switch, the regular Switch, the one that does switch, they say that it just doesn't sit right. And I guess I can see what they're saying, because you're kind of far away from the controls. It feels like you're a little bit too far away. It's not something that annoys me too much, but I can see why people get annoyed by that. So that is one reason to buy the Switch Lite, which a lot of people don't really mention. Now, I'll take these controllers off, like so. I think when most people are talking about controllers for the Switch, and yes, you can buy like different Switch Joy-Cons and things like that. I think when most people talk about it, they're talking about a regular controller. Now, when you buy the Switch, if I can get this here, when you buy the Switch, you get this. This is called the Comfort Grip. And as you saw there, the Joy-Con controllers just slide into place. And now you've got this controller. Now, this controller isn't bad. It takes advantage of the Joy-Con controllers. And that means that you still get things like rumble and different things. And you can do like movement and all that, the gyroscope. It works quite well. It does work quite well. But as a controller, it's certainly not in the top 10 gaming controllers of all time. It's acceptable. I'll put it that way. It's acceptable, but it's not an enjoyable experience. Even, just looking at it there, you can see that it doesn't really have a D-pad because they've got buttons there. So it doesn't have a traditional D-pad. So that is something to take into consideration. I was playing Mario Odyssey on this last night, and it is an enjoyable controller. Unfortunately, when you buy the Nintendo Switch, they give you this. And as I was saying, this is called the Comfort Grip. I think it's in focus. This is called the Comfort Grip, but you can buy something which is pretty much identical, and it's called the Joy-Con Charging Grip. And it's exactly the same, the main difference being that it's got a Type-C connection, which means that you can charge your controllers. Now, that is something that kind of annoys me because, for example, last night, because I've not bought a second controller yet, if I'm playing and then all of a sudden the batteries go dead, the only way for me to charge these controllers is to put them back onto the Switch, into the docking station, and charge them up. It needs to be connected. These need to be connected to the Switch itself. Now, there are solutions to that. You can buy Joy-Con charging stations and different things like that. But again, you're spending money on something which I guess could go towards another controller. But this works okay. It does work okay. I just don't think that it's perfect. It's certainly not perfect for me in my setup. If I'm streaming, if I'm doing a game stream for you guys and I need to charge the batteries with this, there's nothing I can do. I need to put it onto the Switch, or I need to buy a charging station, or I need to buy the Joy-Con charging grip, the attachment controller thing, which for whatever reason is £25. And at that price, you can just buy another third-party controller. But another thing to talk about, another thing to point out, is that Controllers are not cheap. Controllers are not cheap, especially if you're talking about Nintendo. These Joy-Con controllers in the UK, if there is no sale, and there very rarely is a sale, these controllers are £65. £65. Now, I know these are versatile. I know they're attached to the Switch. I know they're attached to accessories and they can attach to this controller grip. £65 though? Come on. Absolute ridiculous price. Absolutely ridiculous price. And whilst I would like to have another Joy-Con controller, you know, left and right so that I can play certain party games with friends and things like that, a part of me thinks, screw Nintendo, that's too much money for controllers like that. So I'm turning my attention to regular controllers. And there are a lot of options out there. Now, this isn't the Switch Pro controller. This is the Wii U Pro controller. I probably didn't get enough use out of this, if I'm honest. You know, I bought this for like 65 back in the day. And fantastic controller. I did like it, but there were a few things that annoyed me about it. And, well, I'll be honest with you, there was one thing that annoyed me about it. It doesn't have great rumble. I think it does have slight rumble options on it. I think you can get a slight rumble, I think. I never had it turned on. You can charge this up with a micro B cable. The charge lasts for a long time. The battery life on this is insane. Probably the best battery life of any controller ever. But what always annoyed me about this was the placement of the controls and the buttons. So I'll kind of, hopefully I can show you this here. So I've played the PlayStation 4 a lot. I played the PlayStation 3 a lot. This is a PlayStation 3 controller, but by and large, all PlayStation controllers have kind of stayed the same. You've got your kind of D-pad there. You've got your thumbsticks down the bottom, and you've got your buttons at the top, right? So you guys know this. You know what this is. This is a PlayStation 3 controller because my PlayStation 4 controllers are downstairs. But if you look at this, you can see that, well, basically it's reversed. You've got the thumbsticks at the top. You've got the D-pad and the buttons at the bottom. Now, for some games, that was okay, because if I was using the thumb control and the buttons, it kind of worked okay. But I did find myself a lot when I was switching back from the PlayStation 4 to the Wii U Pro controller, when I had the Wii, well, I've still got the Wii U, but when I was playing the Wii U, I found that I was pushing things, you know, I was kind of pushing the wrong buttons sometimes, because the buttons here are kind of higher, lower, where the X button here is kind of where the low button would be on the PlayStation. So I found myself hitting the button the wrong time. And it's not really a criticism of this controller, more of a criticism of the fact that I'm used to the PlayStation 4 controller, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem to work well. Now, a lot of people have been talking about how the Wii U Pro controller is nearly identical to the Switch Pro controller, right? But there is one important thing to note. If I jump over to Amazon here, you can see the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. As you can see, it's not cheap either. £55 here in the UK. You can get it £50 most other shops. I don't know why Amazon's a little bit more expensive. But if I click on this, right, so this is the controller. Now, it's not maybe apparent at first, but what they've done is correct the problem which I was talking about there. The buttons are now higher. The buttons are now higher. And again, just to look at here, look at how low the buttons are. You can see how low they are. They're very low. I always found that very annoying, and I always found myself hitting the wrong button. But they have corrected this with the Switch Pro. They've changed the design, they've changed the layout of the buttons, and you can now see it here that the thumbstick is down the bottom and the buttons are above. And that, if you don't really notice it at first, that is exactly how the Xbox One controller is. This is the Xbox controller. This is what Xbox gamers are used to, and you can say what you want. You can say maybe they've drawn inspiration from Xbox, and you know, I'm certainly not criticizing Nintendo for that, because so many other companies have copied Nintendo. Nintendo have been at the forefront of developing and enhancing controllers for years. But if you look at that, yeah, I mean, it's kind of an Xbox One controller. Certainly from a button layout point of view, it certainly looks like an Xbox One controller. And that, to me, is not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm happy for Nintendo to do that. Hey, Hugh. Yeah, I like Xbox controllers as well. I think Xbox controllers are pretty good. I like PlayStation 4 controllers as well. Now, the reason I'm talking about this button layout, etc., is that because the game controllers are so expensive for the Nintendo Switch, and because most people already have, they already have controllers lying around. Like, for example, I've got PlayStation 3 and 4 Wii U controllers. I've got a couple of USB controllers as well. Because of that, a lot of people are looking at these flash adapters. Now, I was very, very tempted to buy one of these. I'm still on the fence. It's certainly not the money point of view because these things are dirt cheap. In my opinion, these things are very cheap. The two most popular ones out there, these wireless Bluetooth adapters. For whatever reason, the Switch doesn't have Bluetooth. I don't know why. But anyway, you can buy these two, 8-bit Do, or the Mayflash. Now, as I said, I don't think these are expensive whatsoever. But you need to buy one of these for each third-party controller that you want to buy. So you would have to buy, if you had 4 third-party controllers, 4 PlayStation 4 controllers you wanted to use with your Switch, you would need to use 4 of these. And yeah, that's when you start having to use USB hubs because the dock only has 3 USB ports. Now, I looked at a lot of video comparisons between these two. What most people say, and I encourage you to look at reviews yourself, but what most people say is that the 8-bit Do one, the actual USB drive is better made. It's more portable. This one is a little bit longer and it's got a flashing LED, which annoys some people. But this one, I saw some people saying that the latency was a little bit better in this one, but then I saw some other people saying that the opposite. But what I liked about this one is that you can plug in a USB controller at the back of this as well. So it doesn't just work with third-party wireless controllers, it works with third-party USB controllers. Now, I think that is quite good. Nintendo are the Apple of gaming, really overrated and way too pricey. I'd agree with the pricey part. I don't think they're overrated. I disagree with that part. They make some amazing games. Right, so this is the Magic NS. I'm very tempted to buy this, right? Very tempted to buy this. This allows you to play with your Joy-Cons on your PC and all this as well. It's quite a versatile little controller. You can see it works with arcade sticks and all that. So even if I don't buy it for my main kind of second controller or main controller, I might end up buying this. The reason I'm kind of leaning more towards the Mayflash is that it seems to be a little bit more flexible. And I saw some people saying that, for example, to make the PlayStation 3 controller work with this one, with the 8-bit Do one, 8-bit Do, I still don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but to make the PlayStation 3 controller work, you have to install software in your PC. And there's a few different, controllers that you have to do that. You need to configure it in your PC and all that. I'm sure it's not a real pain in the ass, but you can, kind of set up things a little bit quicker with this one. That's what the videos I've seen suggest. I like Nintendo Switch Pro controllers and Xbox on PS4 Razer. Yeah, the PS4 Razer ones are good. Wii U is good as well. Wii U controllers are good as well. Right, so these little controllers are quite good. Apparently this one as well, in addition to not having to set up as many things, apparently the rumble functionality of third-party controllers tends to be better supported. So there's certain controllers that you get rumble with through this adapter that it just wouldn't work with this adapter. But again, take that as someone who's just looked at some reviews and video comparisons online. Your experience might be a little bit different. And I certainly wouldn't rule out buying one or both of these in the future. I'm very close to buying this one. I nearly bought it today, but then I thought I'll hold back just now until I decide what I'm doing. Now, if I had to buy this Mayflash, I'd probably be buying it for this controller. From what I've read, I think so. Well, that's the thing. I saw some people saying that you can get rumble to work with this. Apparently, it's got a small motor in here. I never used rumble with this, but apparently you can get this to work very easily. It works quite well. But again, it comes back to what I was saying before. The button layout on this with the buttons down the bottom. Yes, I like this controller. Many people say this was, when this came out, a lot of people say this was the best controller that ever was released. They said it was, it was the best all-round game controller, and the battery life was amazing. But in practice, I've found the button layout to be a little bit annoying. So I could buy that adapter, but if I bought that adapter today to use with this controller, no doubt I would start getting a little bit annoyed with these buttons. So that's kind of bringing me back to maybe I should buy the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. £50, expensive, but maybe that is the controller I need to buy. But there's other options out there. There's certainly other options out there, and I've looked at a few of them, and I've not delved too deep into this as yet. So there you can see the Joy-Cons, £65, and that is not even including the Comfort Grip, which is £15, or the Charging Grip, which is £25, which takes you up to £90 to get a solution like this, which charges. I'm looking at the wrong camera, but to look at that, to buy the controllers with one of these grips that charges, you'd be talking about £90 retail. Very, very expensive. But there are third-party controllers out there, right? So there's fake Joy-Cons. At that price, I don't think I would buy those. They don't look that good. So there's a Comfort Grip. It seems to be £10 here rather than 15, which is good. So you'd have to buy that with the other controller. You've got a lot of wired controllers, and sitting at my desk, a wired controller is fine. It really is fine, and I don't think it'd be an issue for me. But at the same time, if I'm going somewhere else, that's when a wired controller becomes a little bit limiting. I'd like the option of just getting a wireless controller that can be charged and plugged in via a Type-C connection. I think that's a little bit more practical. But you can see there are third-party controllers here. Some of them, like this one here, I don't like the look of that. I mean, I love this SNES controller, but I don't like the look of that one. I thought this one looked okay. I've not tried it. I've not seen many reviews of it, but this one it's kind of got like an Xbox. If you look at the controls here, this kind of looks like an Xbox One controller, design-wise, like shape-wise, but the button layout is more like a PlayStation 4. Now, generally speaking, third-party Chinese brand kind of controllers like this, they don't last as long, or certainly they're not as responsive. The D-pad sometimes not as clicky, or it's not as responsive and things like that. But at the price, when you're talking about other controllers being £50 and £65 for the Joy-Cons, I can see why people go for this. And for a second or third controller, maybe I could try one of these in the future. I think it actually looks quite good, this one. I think it looks quite good, and I like the fact that it's kind of the Xbox One shape, but the PlayStation 4 layout. I think that would work well with me, just because I've got a PlayStation 4. I wish Sony would make a new PSP. I'm not sure that's going to happen anytime soon, given the Vita the Vita wasn't as successful as it should have been. But I digress. Right, so there's a lot of other controllers here. These ones, I think, get quite good reviews, right? So these ones do get good reviews. This layout here is like the Nintendo Switch layout. So the Nintendo Switch or the Xbox One controller, that button layout is what... where is it? That's what that one uses, this one. This one's wireless. I think this one, like, if I look at it closely here, I'll bring up the image. So you get a lot, you can see them all different branded and all that. These ones look okay. But again, if you're going to spend £31.99 on this, should you buy this? Should you pay a little bit extra and get the Switch Pro controller? I think as my main controller, and I'm sure that is a good controller. I'm sure it is, and I've seen some people saying it's pretty good, and you get it in lots of different designs. But I think that at that price, I'd probably pony up a little bit extra and get the official Switch Pro controller. I keep flip-flopping if I'm honest, but I think just given that this one, it's £30 instead of like £50 or so, it looks good, but I don't know. I mean, it depends, this situation changes if you need to buy 2 or 3 controllers. It's good that there are a few options out there though. Some of these other ones some of these ones don't look like they're that comfortable. They just look pretty poor. Don't get me wrong though, you can be pleasantly surprised. Like, a few years ago, I'd paid about £65 for this, and I got a cheap version of this, which was like £10 or £15, and it wasn't as good, but it wasn't that bad either. So sometimes third-party controllers aren't too bad. But this is something that I think a lot of people look into. That one looks quite good as well. I like that design. I think that's quite a cool design. But again, £42.10. Another £10 and you get the Switch controller. Look at that, £80 for those. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely insane. Then you've got obviously the GameCube ones, which, you know, everyone that plays Smash Brothers want those ones. What do you guys think? Those of you who have a Nintendo Switch, let me know what controllers you like. Let me know which ones you have. I'll be honest, like earlier on today, I was leaning towards the Mayflash with the Wii U controller. Firstly, because it is still a good controller, that, and I'll put these controllers on here, because this is quite a good controller. But what kind of made me a little bit hesitant, made me think about it a little bit more, is the fact that firstly you need to pony up £18, and that money could go towards a brand new controller. And I think it'd be different if the adapter worked with one adapter, worked with multiple controllers. It's a different story, but one adapter per controller, I'll probably buy it anyway, because I've got like an arcade stick up there, and I've got a few other controllers that would be good to use, and I'd like to have the option of using them, so I might end up buying it anyway. But for my main controller, the one I'm probably going to be using 99% of the time when I'm playing the Switch, when I'm playing game streams for you guys, or when I'm playing through Zelda or Mario, yes, I like the idea of using this one, but again, the buttons are a little bit lower than I like, so I like the other layout. And the rumble functionality, which is apparently not supported in this, I realised that when I was playing Mario Odyssey last night, so last night I did a game stream of this, Mario Odyssey. This game is absolutely awesome. I'm loving it. But there were quite a few times in the game where you had to feel the rumble to see where something was. And if you don't have that rumble, then you're kind of losing out, you know, something from the game. And generally speaking, I don't really care about rumble. You know, in certain games, I don't care about it. Sometimes it can even be annoying. But in certain games, if they've used that rumble functionality to tell you where something is, you know, you get closer to something and it rumbles. Like I was fishing, and when I got close to a fish, it would start rumbling and I had to pull it out. So little mini games and other games take advantage of rumble, and it becomes important to the functionality. So I think in that regard, I do need rumble. So I started thinking this is not the way to go. So then I thought, okay, I get the Switch Pro controller. It's probably the best one to buy. It's the one that everyone says is the best one to get. And it's probably the one I'm leaning towards just now, if I'm honest. You know, most of the reviews say that it's not perfect. Some people recommend some 8-bit Do controllers as well, 8-bit Do controllers. I think that or one of these third-party controllers is probably where I'm sitting at right now. But there's a part of me that thinks that if I do buy a third-party controller as my main controller, I'll always think, why didn't I just pony up the extra cash and get the official one? So I'm probably leaning towards the official Switch Pro controller at this time. But maybe I'll pick up a third-party one for, you know, for playing with friends and things like that. FP Jazz, I use the Nintendo Switch Pro controller I play in my PC. Yeah, I think that's quite good as well. Using an adapter, you can use... does the Switch Pro controller need an adapter to work on the PC? Or does it just work out of the box? I know that the Wii U one does need an adapter. So, what I would say is that if you've got a Nintendo Switch and you've just bought one or you're just about to buy one, you will look at controllers. You definitely will look at controllers. And, you know, if you're playing handheld mode, you're just playing with the Switch, these controllers are pretty good. And you can take them out and you can put them into the comfort grip and you can play your games. What happens if you want a second controller, or what happens if you want to play FIFA or a first-person shooter, or you want to play with a better controller? Then you have to look at a different option. As I said, playing with this comfort grip, it's okay. It's just not a pleasant experience. It's not as good as an Xbox One controller or a PlayStation 4 controller. If you're looking at a second controller, either for yourself or for a second player, I think your options are you buy one of those adapters to use an existing controller, and a lot of people buy the Mayflash or the 8-bit Do adapter so that they can play with their Xbox One or Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 or 4 controller. And if you're used to a particular type of controller, you know, if you still love the PlayStation 3 controller, if you still love the PlayStation 4 controller, it makes sense to buy one of those adapters. And certainly it makes sense to get one perhaps anyway, because down the line you can maybe use it with a different controller. If you want just a standalone controller, the Switch Pro, it is painfully expensive, but I would say that if you've already got the Switch with the Joy-Cons at the side, unless you're planning on playing lots of party games with friends, if you want a proper controller, I would lean people towards maybe the Switch Pro controller first, but then look at cheaper alternatives as well. Let's not beat around the bush. £50 for the official controller. If there's controllers that are very similar in your respect, same design and all that, for 22, 23 rather than 50, then you should definitely consider it. I'm leaning more towards the better one just because I think I'll probably get a lot of use out of it. So the adapters are there though. They are flexible. They are a good option. But after looking at it, it's something I might get later. I don't think it's something I need right now. Right now, what I need is a good controller. And I could buy an adapter and I can use this controller. But I think the layout and the buttons of the Switch Pro controller, I know this myself, these buttons, because they're so low, it does take a while to get used to. And I know that I do get used to it after a while, but because I switch between the Switch and the PlayStation 4, and I play Xbox One at my friends' houses as well, because I switch between so many different systems, I think that would be better going for a controller that had the buttons in a better position. So that's where I am just now, guys. I'll probably buy a controller soon. I'll let you know what I'll pick up. In the meantime, I'm just going to play using the Switch Joy-Con, but I am going to pick up one soon. Fraser McGovern, I'd recommend the Pro controller, and I'm cheap as hell. That's good. I'll maybe pick it up today and order it today or something. It's one of those things. It's not really the money. Like, I think there's certainly a point, when you're buying controllers where you're like, do I really need this? Do I really, really need this? But I think the Pro controller is expensive, but at the same time, that's kind of what you pay for a PlayStation 4 controller. It's kind of what you pay for an official Xbox One controller as well. I would like to try one of these third-party controllers in the future, though. Maybe I can persuade a company to send me one, I'm not sure. But as far as their official one goes, £17 for that adapter would let me play with this controller, but I think I'll maybe lean towards the Switch Pro one. Like Fraser says, he can recommend it. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps some people. I know I've not actually got any Switch Pro controllers here to show you. Perhaps in the future I'll have 3 or 4 controllers I can do a comparison. But when you're looking for a controller, I definitely think the Switch Pro should be first. But look at those adapters as well. Hey Norlis, good to see you. I definitely look at those adapters again. Where are we here? I would look at this one. Out of these two, draw your own conclusions. There's a lot of comparisons and reviews online. What they generally say is that this one's actually better made, but I kind of like this one just because it seems a little bit more versatile, a little bit easier to set up, and it's got that USB port as well, which allows you to connect wired controllers, which if you've got a wired arcade stick, a wired controller, a wired PC controller, that gives you a few more options. And I think there's an image down here. Is there? No, it's not. It's on the official website. There's an image here that shows you, it's this one. So this one shows you what this works with. You can see it works with the Wii U Pro, Switch Pro, Logitech, Joy-Con, Xbox One, PS4, Xbox 360. I believe that's through USB. And it's got the PlayStation 3. This one is kind of, it's ballpark, just about the same amount of controllers, but this one's got a few extra ones. This one also works, as you can see there, the Neo Geo Mini. There's a lot of options out there, but if you buy one of those, it means you can use your existing controller. But I at this point, I'm kind of leaning towards the Switch Pro controller. I think it's the best option. Granted, it's annoyingly expensive for what it is, but all official controllers are. It's just what it is. That is what it is, guys. It is what it is. You're never too old to say yo, Norlis. You're never too old. Yeah, guys, so this has been a look at Nintendo Switch controllers. There's a lot of them out there. Something to pay attention to tonight is the announcement, of the new iPhone. There's going to be at least 2 of the kind of top level one, the iPhone 11, but they're talking about, the rumors I saw are that there are a kind of budget version of the iPhone coming as well. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I saw some people saying that online, kind of in the same line of a Google Pixel 3a, that type of thing. They realise they're kind of losing ground in the middle of the market, so it wouldn't surprise me if iPhone does do that and release a kind of budget version that still has a good camera but not as good to try and bring back a lot of people to the iPhone world. Top t-shirt, yeah, this was actually a gift from my brother. He bought me this one and an Atari one. I think he's got the same ones, but you know, I doubt we'll be wearing them at the same time, so it's not an issue. Yeah, guys, so there's an iPhone announcement tonight, guys. Check that out if you're on the lookout for a new phone. iPhones, they're always good. They're always very good, but they're always damn expensive as they are. But if they announce anything interesting, we'll probably do a video about that tonight or a live stream or something. But I'm definitely going to be doing another live stream about this game, Mario Odyssey. If it goes in focus, that is one hell of a game. Really do like it. But this video, this live stream is all about controllers. I hope I've helped any of you guys that have been looking for a Switch controller. Any of you guys have been looking for a Switch controller. I think I'm just going to keep this for playing with the Wii U, and I might just I'm leaning towards the Switch Pro controller. Let me know what you think, though, guys. Thanks to everyone who's commented live. Live, as they say in the business. But if you're watching this video later and you disagree with anything I say or you agree with anything I say, whatever, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know which controllers you recommend. There's a lot of controllers out there I haven't even touched upon. I was just kind of browsing around Amazon to show you what controllers are on the market. There's a lot of kind of cheapo ones. These are ones that I like the look out of just from a playing on the Switch point of view. You attach them to the side, but it means that it probably won't work with any cases. Do I have a case around here? Yes, I do. So, like, I've got this kind of case. That looks really good. That looks like it's a more enjoyable experience for playing games, but it's not going to really fit well with any accessories. So, for example, I've got this Switch case. Obviously, you buy that, it's not going to work. So, one of those things. I do like the idea of that, but again, I don't know whether I'll get it or not. But thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. I'll probably do a live stream later on, so please do tune in. Yes, pay attention to the Apple iPhone announcement later. You'll probably see news about it everywhere, BBC News, Twitter, Facebook, the social media world. You'll see some people talking about it. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this stream, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.